Hello, welcome to Central Scotland Buses. My name's Morty and I am currently stood outside Queen Elizabeth University Hospitals in the west of Glasgow. Today I will be exploring the 6 kilometre stretch of road that is the Clyde Fastlink, which is used to dramatically reduce journey times between Glasgow city centre and Glasgow's busiest hospital. Before we get into that though, here's a little bit of background info on the Clyde Fastlink. The Clyde Fastlink runs between Glasgow city centre and the Queen Elizabeth University Hospitals via places such as the Clyde Arc, Prince's Dock and Govan interchange. Out of the full 6 kilometre route, 4 kilometres of it are just your standard bus lanes you'd see in any other major UK city, with the remaining 2 kilometres of it being made up of segregated busways which run alongside main roads to cut past car drivers commuting to and from the heart of Glasgow. The Fastlink is served in its entirety by stagecoach service X19, which runs up to every 12 minutes between QEUH and Easterhouse in the far east of the city, primarily using Alexander Dennis Enviro 200 MMCs. McGill's also run their services 23 and 26 along large stretches of the Fastlink, primarily using Yutong E12 electric single-decker buses. According to the Strathclyde Partnership for Transport, more commonly referred to as SPT, a study done in autumn of 2020 showed that the Fastlink helped reduce journey times between QEUH and Glasgow city centre by approximately 15%. The Fastlink was first proposed in 2007 as a way to help improve Glasgow's public transport network in time for the 2014 Commonwealth Games, which were to be held in Glasgow that year. Construction began in late 2013, with it initially being slated to open in 2014 in time for the aforementioned Commonwealth Games. This unfortunately didn't happen though, and the Fastlink wasn't fully opened until the 28th of June 2015. God damn it, I just barely missed its 10th birthday. That would have been a cool special. The first stretch, the Clyde Fastlink, doesn't really have any major bus priority measures in place. They're already off to a great start. Sure, there are bus lanes on Hospital Boulevard, but the ones heading into the hospital are just to guide buses into the bus hub, and the ones heading outbound are somewhat redundant anyway, so... You could argue that the Fastlink doesn't start, or rather end, until this point here. This is the last stretch of bus lane before you reach Queen Elizabeth University Hospitals, thus deeming it, in my personal opinion, the end of the Clyde Fastlink. The bus lane ends right before Govan Road crosses over the Clyde Tunnel, which is only one of 4 crossings west of Glasgow city centre to cross the Wither Clyde, the other 3 being Kingston Bridge, Clyde Arc and Erskine Bridge, and the Clyde Tunnel is the only tunnel to go under the River Clyde past, say, Glasgow Central Station. Just 150 metres up, we have this roundabout here. It links Govan Road and Drive Road together. However, instead of just implementing a normal T-style junction, they implemented this large roundabout. Odd choice at first sight, sure, but the reason it's a roundabout instead of a T-style junction is because traffic heading southbound coming from the Clyde Tunnel isn't able to turn right onto Govan Road when merging, so it means that they can just turn around without having to do a U-turn. So they can just continue left and then loop around this roundabout. Makes sense. However, what's interesting about this roundabout is that instead of implementing just your standard roundabout, Glasgow City Council thought best to just put a bus lane right through the middle of it, going the opposite direction to traffic. Why they do this instead of just implementing a normal roundabout, I'm not sure, but I mean, the bus lane gets the job done and traffic lights are lined up perfectly, so buses don't really have to stop in the middle of the bus lane, so... It's also worth noting that this is technically the last stretch of segregated busway along the entire Clyde Fastlink when travelling towards QEUH. A quick 4-minute bus ride down the road brings us to Govan Interchange, the largest transport hub along the entire Fastlink. Passengers can swap here onto the Glasgow subway alongside bus links to places such as Hampton Park, Silverburn Shopping Centre, and Queen's Park. The Glasgow subway depot is also located right across the road from the interchange. This is also the point where the McGill's Service 26, the most frequent McGill's route along the busway, joins onto the Fastlink to compete with Service X19 into Glasgow. The stretch from Govan Interchange to Prince's Dock really isn't that interesting. I mean, if you get off at the Prince's Dock, you can have a quick look at some weird egg-shaped buildings, and 23 very briefly splits off the Fastlink to go past the old Govan Town Hall, which is this lovely building behind me here. But other than that, It's basically just your average bus lanes that you've been seeing in most cities around the country for decades at this point. That is until we reach this point here, which is the start of the longest stretch of segregated busway across the entire Fastlink. The stretch along Pacific Drive spans 2/3 of a kilometre and is the only stretch of the Fastlink where the 19, 23 and 26 operate in both directions, as the 23 and 26 only operate along the busway heading city-bound at Govan interchange. All in all, the X19, 23, 23P and 26 make for 13 buses per hour combined across this stretch. However, this is the last stretch of the busway where we can see any McGill's routes, as after this stretch, services 23 and 26 and 23P instead continue down through to Kinning Park and along through Kingston instead of doing the final stretch of the Fastlink. After reaching the end of Pacific Drive, buses can either merge onto Govan Road into Kinning Park, or they can cross over Govan Park, in the case of the X19, onto another set of segregated busways over the Clyde Arc, a 96-metre-long bridge spanning over the River Clyde that opened in 2006, linking the areas of Finnieston with the Pacific Quay. After crossing the Clyde Arc, we reach this junction here, where Finnieston Street crosses over with the Lansfield Quay. Traffic can either turn left here or go straight on for the Clydeside Expressway, which is a large dual carriageway heading into the west of Glasgow, or, as the X19 does, turn right here and continue along the Fastlink into Glasgow city centre. After making this turn, there aren't really any major bus priority measures in place aside from this short bus lane here that you can see. Well, at least for another 500 metres, and then we reach the final stretch of the Fastlink, a 675-metre stretch of segregated busway that ends just 200 metres short of Glasgow city centre. From here, Service X19 continues through Glasgow city centre and along the M8 to Glasgow Fort Shopping Park and Easter House. So there we have it, that's the Clyde Fastlink. What are my thoughts on it? I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of mixed. On one hand, I don't like how much it sort of sways between using just your standard bus lanes and just using segregated busways. It's like it changes every half kilometre or something, which is really irritating. And of course, there are even stretches that just don't have any bus priority measures in place at all, but especially sort of around Queen Elizabeth University Hospital until the Clyde Tunnel, and then this stretch of Lansfield Quay. On the other hand, if you are to compare the X19 to, say, the first Glasgow 77, when you're travelling between, say, Central Station and Queen Elizabeth Uni Hospitals, the X19 is noticeably quicker. And I think the busway is definitely something to do with that. But yeah, basically, long story short, I think that the busway, good in concept, execution is okay at best. It feels like it was meant to be some sort of metro system, but they couldn't implement one, so instead they just opted to do the cheaper option, which is redesign the road networks. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure your guys' opinions are definitely going to differ to mine, so if you're in Glasgow City Centre and you have half an hour to kill, just hop on the X19 down to QBUH and back and give the busway a try for yourself. I'm going to leave that there. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I know this is quite a different style of content, so if you did actually think it was quite cool and want to see me do more videos like this, then leave a comment explaining your thoughts. But yeah, I am going to hope that there's an X19 soon so I can rush along to Glasgow Central and get a train. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I have been Mortimer Durkin, and until next time, I'm going to get going. See you guys later.